I'll tell you what I think. If you want to know. Do you want to know?
Hey,
nobody wants to know.
Star Wars Celebration
I do want to know.
Let's go hit the floor.
I want to know why you are live from the red carpet in LA at the Solo premiere tonight.
Well, I'm live, James, at the Solo premiere because we live in a beautiful city called Toronto. And Toronto always gets premieres because that's the way it works here. So I saw no reason not to go to the premiere. That's why I'm actually wearing headsets. It has nothing to do with this video. I just want to make sure that security tells me where to go and where to stand and how to pose, etc. And I know, there've been a lot of cheers for Donald Glover, a lot of cheers for Tandy Newton, but most of the cheers I think are for me. And I guess I'm cool with that, but really I'm just here to get my picture taken inside the Falcon.
Absolutely. We're completely frozen right now. Our images are completely frozen because the internet cannot handle the awesomeness that you are taking from the Solo premiere. We have been watching the Solo premiere. I'm going to let you answer this while I answer the people on the chat here. So you've been watching the Solo premiere. Have you learned anything about the movie that you thought you might learn from this premiere?
I learned that doing your own stunts is a lot harder than it looks. Alden Ehrenreich said something about you kind of need to be athletic to do stunts, and I'm like, uh-oh, there goes my career. There goes half the roles I can ever get. So I'm hoping that if you ever cast me in anything where I'm required to do stunts, they are very minimal. That's all I ask.
I can't make any promises whatsoever. One thing I've got to say that I learned right from the get-go on this, not right from the get-go, it was like an hour in. But they talked about sound, the sound design and what sound we would hear on this. And one of those things that we heard has been retired is the Wilhelm scream has been retired. Apparently there is a new scream, though. They announced that there is a new scream in this. How do you feel about that? You upset? You okay with it? You're like, it's time to move on from the Wilhelm scream.
Well, I'm a little bit upset. Yeah, that's a tradition. Like, I understand they want to break free from some traditions, and Star Wars is nothing but tradition. But that's one where I think you're not really losing out if you keep it. You're not losing out if you toss it, but it doesn't. It's not a huge tradition that affects everything. My question is, this retiring of it, is it happening? Like, is there one in Solo and then that's it, or are they saying it's done?
Oh, it's done. It is done.
So Solo won't have one.
Nope, they have a new scream in Solo. It wasn't in Last Jedi either.
Oh, see, I didn't notice. So yeah, there you go. There's your point. People won't notice if you take it away, but it's a fun little thing that we all like to hear. I could swear I heard it in The Last Jedi, but maybe I'm crazy. I could swear like a stormtrooper in that whole Phasma fight scene. I thought there was a stormtrooper who let one go when Finn was like taking them out, but
you were just too busy drinking the Kool-Aid.
I was too busy drinking the Kool-Aid and liking a movie that clearly I have no right to like because it's bad and it ruined both my childhood and yours. But regardless, farewell, Wilhelm scream. You shall be missed. Let's hear your best Wilhelm right now, James.
Oh no, I don't play around with that. You're the actor. You give it.
Okay, let's see. There's a lot of movement in that scream, so I got to be like, ah!
I'm hoping the new one is better than whatever that was. By the way, did you see Mark Hamill's tweet yesterday on May 9th? He said, "May the 9th episode be good and not ruin anyone's childhood." That's what he wrote yesterday. Mark Hamill trolling the trolls. Let's go back to the Solo premiere. Donald, you mentioned Donald Glover. He was out there. Anything he said stand out to you? Anything that you're like, well, he's cemented, not that he already wasn't cemented, but now you're definitely 100% sure that he is your Lando?
Nothing he said, because I was actually watching it on mute because I was preparing to start this video. But what he wore got me excited because he was decked out in a very 70s kind of leisure suit looking thing, even though it's a perfectly modern, normal suit that he was wearing. It had that 70s vibe to it. So that made me Lando excited.
Yeah, I can't wait for his portrayal of us. So I'm trying to get the image to come back. Jericho Kane just said, "Are you at the premiere right now?" We are totally at our own premiere, but not the premiere. I'm going to watch a premiere. We're at a premiere for your new movie, Thumb Wars, obviously. I want it. Can't get enough Thumb Wars.
Yeah, review a Space War movie.
It's awesome because this was all working until we went until we went live. So now my image is completely gone.
Yeah, I can't see you anymore.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at this, and we all know I've been very, very excited for this movie. I've made no bones about it whatsoever. But this is leading up to word that came out earlier today from an unknown, unnamed, unregistered source about an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, which we've all been kind of speculating on. And like a year ago, rumors came out on this one. Tell me what you read about this while I try to fix this stream.
Well, I read these very vague, like you said, these rumors that kind of they came from nowhere about people saying, reports are coming in that in spring 2019 they will start rolling camera on the Obi-Wan Kenobi Star Wars story, and that's literally it. And everything, people have reached out to Ewan McGregor, and he's like, I haven't heard about this. People have reached out to, I forget his name, the Billy Elliot director who's supposedly directing this movie. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he's commented. So this feels like just obviously wishful thinking. I mean, because we all want it. But is it real? I don't think this report is real. I think this is just somebody banking off the hype of Solo. I can't remember his name, but this feels like a story that guy would have dropped from back in the prequel days. What was his name? Like Darth Shadow or something? You remember that? He had like his own website. This feels like just one of those. Like it's something that could absolutely 100% be plausible, and for all we know, it is true. But because there's such a lack of sources and a lack of details, it just feels like that. That's like if I said to you right now, James, just so you know, in spring 2019, we're gonna be making a video on the Rebel Scum podcast channel. It's like, yeah, no shit. It's like, and I don't give any more details. It's like, well, that's not a story. So I feel like this is one of those cases.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Mr. Pete channel, Jericho Kane. We got to give it all. Hold on, I want to say to everybody that's on the chat right now. And Lucas Diego. Hey, guys, thanks for... If there's more people watching. Comment away, guys. Comment away. If there's anything you want to hear, Andrew,
thank you for watching.
No, I do not... Yes, thank you so much. Our video is back now. We're both looking... Well, you're looking more dapper than I am. Because I was very much offended that I was not at the premiere tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. No way whatsoever was I offended about not going to the premiere tonight. But it looks like they've done this for all of the movies that have come out, obviously the 3 prior to this one and now this one. And it looks like a lot of fun down there in Los Angeles. Let us know if you guys have been watching at all the live stream. We obviously have stopped so we could do this right now and talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi and Solo itself. And Ron Howard came out in an interview and he said, look, if people like this movie, if it makes the money, people enjoy it, we will do sequels to Solo. So we went ahead of ourselves a little bit with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let's go back to Han Solo. If you like this movie, are you game for more Han Solo movies?
Yes, I am. And I'm not only game for that, but I heard some talking, just some fan talking and like fan excitement, as we happen to do here. And I think you and Brock even brought it up at least once on the show yourselves, about the idea, the possibility that, if this is fantastic, can we have a world where in a few years we get a young Leia movie, and then in a few years we get a young Luke movie, and then after that we get like an Avengers style kind of movie with these 3 actors playing those young versions of these characters in a post-Jedi setting, mayhaps. And I would very much be down for that. I know everybody wants to move on from the Skywalker story, and so do I. But if you're going to keep making more of these movies and you're going to go the route of multiple movies a year, then yeah, do that. Give us something. They've been talking about it since 2012, since the buyout, about creating the Star Wars cinematic universe in the vein that they've been doing with Marvel here. And I think what's missing, people argue all you want about quality of the movies, obviously comparing the two series is not fair because they're so different. But if you want to be like that, I think what's missing from Star Wars is the feeling of we're going somewhere with this. All these movies are going somewhere. And yeah, in a sense, the trilogies do that. They all just it's one story in 3 chunks. But the idea of all these spin-offs going somewhere and all these stories leading to something that's a bigger event, I could really get behind that too. So yeah, of course I want to see Solo sequels, and of course I want to see more Star Wars everywhere, but that's what I'm gunning for.
Jericho Kane, no, not all Skywalker's forever from Mr. P. Jericho Kane, he'd love to see more Solo movies. Shocking. His Solo movie won an award. Congratulations on that one, Jericho. By the way, Brock is not here right now. He is working. There's Brock. He's working the Toronto Blue Jays game tonight. Look how happy he is. He's actually at the premiere. He's working. He's doing the premiere. Anthony Carboni's assistant over there at the Star Wars show premiere. I would take that job at RP. I would take any job over there. For me, I definitely would want to see more Han Solo films. Now, look, and I'm going to say right here, if you haven't seen Avengers Infinity War, this is going to be a small bit of a spoiler. I kind of mentioned this on last week's show. The Red Skull. The Red Skull is in Infinity War, and he is 900% fan service. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that negatively. I'm saying that positively. He is in there. Yes. And in the theater, the diehard fans are like, oh. And then the people who don't know who he is are like, cool. But everything about it makes sense. And I think the thing with Lucasfilm and maybe this announcement of Obi-Wan is they're going to be like, and I think they kind of got this with Rogue One a little bit, is fan service is important once in a while. Because, yeah, you know what? These movies are going to make $1 billion. Solo, maybe not. There's talk that it's going to be the lowest, the least profitable of the Star Wars films today, which I'm going to say right now I completely agree with. I don't think it's going to make the money that Rogue One made, Last Jedi made, Force Awakens, obviously. I don't think it's going to. I told you this. I think I'm going to like it better than Black Panther, but I don't think it's going to make more money than Black Panther. And I think part of that is Black Panther came out in February and had a month and a half on its own until I think it was A Quiet Place or Ready Player One or something. Solo has Deadpool the week before it, and then like a couple weeks after, it's got Incredibles and Jurassic World, and it's just not going to be able to carry the momentum. So I don't think it's going to be because nobody likes it, but I think Disney has something that they want to. They have a goal in mind for like future Solo films in that respect. But going back to the Red Skull thing, fan service is important. And he's my favorite character. He's obviously Lawrence Kasdan's favorite character. That's all he ever says when he talks about it. Ron Howard said it on the Star Wars show that he's like, this was Larry Kasdan's favorite character. And sometimes that's important. And you know what? Yeah, okay, maybe this isn't going to propel the lore forward eons and eons, but maybe we don't need that all the time. Maybe we just need a fun romp through the country, through the universe, the galactic galaxy. And maybe this is the one that gives it to us, and this is just a jolt of fun for us Star Wars fans to have, embrace, kind of cherish, and acknowledge with one another.
First of all, who wore it better, fans, me or David Collins? Please comment. And second of all, I love that you brought up the Red Skull thing, because I actually did a video with Jericho Kane, and you can actually see that on his channel. Check out Jericho Kane's channel. He has some good stuff there too. And we did a video talking about Infinity War, and we mentioned the Red Skull thing, and I said what was so cool about that particular moment is that you're right, it's fan service, but it's one of those things where in the list of questions that fans were asking about the world of the MCU, where is the Red Skull was maybe like question 20. Like, it was low enough that we didn't expect it to be answered, you know what I mean? And the idea of, seeing him was not even in our minds. Like, we did not think that was going to happen, at least in this movie. So I would love for something like that to pop up in a Star Wars. I mean, like, you know, just think of an answer that you would, a question that you would automatically answer no to, like about this movie. Say, for example, hey, do you think Palpatine is going to show up in Solo: A Star Wars Story? Everybody's like, no, it's Palpatine. This is about Han Solo. This is about smugglers. Palpatine's not going to be in it. And then they put Palpatine in it. Like, it'll get that same kind of reaction that we got seeing Red Skull. Do you get where I'm going?
Yeah, totally, and I completely agree with that. And that is the fan service that I'm saying is good to have, because Red Skull, they made him work in that movie and it made sense. And again, like you said, you weren't expecting him. You're excited to see him. You don't know if for some reason you haven't seen the first Captain America, or it's been what, 8 years since Captain, like maybe you just forgot about it. And because, you know, sometimes people forget. Not everybody is obsessed with these things. And it still works. You're like, okay, that's the character in that scene, whatever. And you don't really care necessarily about it. You know, you throw the Emperor in. Vader, we've been talking about this for, I think, a year now. A year about Vader, the possibility of Vader being in this movie, because there was a leak that said that Vader was in this movie. And then, like, 5 months later, there was another leak that said Vader was going to be in this movie. It won't make or break anything for me, but I fully expect to see Vader in some capacity in this, especially the way he was received in Rogue One. That being said, a Vader in this movie being used like he was in Rogue One makes absolutely goose egg, 0 sense to me in this movie. Like, Vader being in it makes 100% sense to me, because we've seen the Empire. The Empire is a big factor in this, and if they're somewhere with Imperials, the possibility of Vader being there is very, very good. There's a very good chance that Vader would be, hey, I'm just checking up on things here. My name's Vader. How's it going? See you. Bye. And he leaves. But him taking out his lightsaber, whooping ass, you know, using the Force, that I don't see so much. Josh Lucas from the Den of Nerds, small YouTube channel. It's really not been growing much lately at all. He mentioned that we did a video a few months ago, the possibility of Boba Fett appearing in this movie. And he had an idea of Boba Fett having the Rogue One Vader scene. How Boba Fett could have a kick-ass scene that leaves you going, yes. And in that one teaser, we kind of got a glimpse of his ship. What do you make of that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that if you're going to bring Boba Fett back, what a way to do it. Give him that scene. Give him that Vader-like scene where, you know, for a minute and a half, he is just wrecking shit up. And then by the end of that minute, we're all going to be breathless. We're all going to be screaming. And then after the movie comes out and everybody is just hungry, they can be like, hey, guess what? Marvel's got a Boba Fett comic coming out that takes place after Return of the Jedi. And everybody's going to lose their collective minds. Guarantee you.
Yeah, and that's the way I think they should do it. Sure. The Boba Fett film, it keeps... It was made and then the boat, and then it was never mentioned again. One thing, but the Boba Fett thing, excuse me, has been there now. Do you believe in your heart of hearts that this Boba Fett film is 100% happening?
No. I believe it's maybe 60% happening, maybe 70%, but they need to do something like that first. They need to gauge to see if Boba Fett is still, you know, hot. Because if they just announce tomorrow, guys, we're going to do a movie about this bounty hunter, and it gets sort of a reception like, okay. Because I think what they're worried, they know. Lucasfilm knows. They've heard us talk. They've listened. And I think they are aware of how much outcry there is for an Obi-Wan movie. So I think they might be at a point where if they're going to announce a spin-off film about a pre-existing character and it's not a character named Obi-Wan Kenobi, I think they're afraid of the backlash that might ensue from that. So if they have plans for something like that, I would keep them close to their vest until there's love for Boba again, as much as there is for this Obi-Wan thing.
I feel like it wouldn't be just a straight up Boba Fett film. I remember when there was rumors that he was going to be in Rogue One. That Rogue One was going to be that bounty hunter film. I kind of want him to be in something like that, like just an ensemble piece, like bounty hunters. And I don't want him to ever take his helmet off.
No, agreed. One of the best westerns ever made is The Magnificent Seven, the original, not that garbage remake that came out 2 years ago. And it was just 7 cowboys being cowboys and doing things, and every one of them had their own unique personality and trait, and you were all rooting for them. And spoilers, not a lot of those dudes made it out alive, but they all personified heroism and villainy throughout that movie, because they were mostly, just hired guns. They weren't heroic sheriffs. They were just dudes who are like, look, pay me money and I'll shoot some dudes in the head for you, but if you're not paying me, I'll see you later. Have fun with that invasion. And the bounty hunters are that kind of scum. So put 7 of them in a room together, make one of them Boba Fett. He can be, as Bart Simpson would say, he can be the quiet religious guy who ends up going crazy, and everybody else has their own personality trait. But imagine that movie. That movie would be spectacular. You've got, create some new people, throw them in there, maybe give us some Cad Bane love. I'd be down for that. And then Boba's that one guy on the team who doesn't say much, and he's just standing. I know everybody else would be sitting around the table, and he's just standing by the door, with his gun on his shoulder, and he's like, giving one of these every now and then, just giving a nod. And the dynamic of him playing off these different kinds of hunters, F yeah, man. Give me that movie. I don't want to see Boba Fett Begins.
Well, we already saw that. It's called Attack of the Clones.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I don't want that either. Let's go on to the Obi-Wan film. You said everybody wants the Obi-Wan film, and when you go online and everybody wants the Obi-Wan film, it's becoming obvious that everybody wants a solo film with the ticket sales. But the Obi-Wan film, why do you want an Obi-Wan film?
Me personally, because A, he's one of my favorite characters. He might be like my second favorite character in Star Wars. And B, because you have that rare opportunity with an actor who A, is up for it, B, is the perfect age to continue it, and C, could, bridge the gap between the movies, which is something that I feel could be done better, between the old and the new, I mean. So, like, that right there, like, give us some of the prequel love. What more could you ask for?
But here's one question for you, though. What is it about?
What is the movie about? Like the plot?
Yeah, like what is the Obi-Wan movie about?
It would, if I was writing it, it would have to be A, get him off Tatooine for a bit, Don't set the whole movie on Tatooine. Just, get him off of there doing something. I was against it before, but the more I've heard about this, the more I agree, is that put Vader in it as one last sort of hurrah between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Give them a meeting with some weight to it, with some sort of like a little just closure from what we have come to know since the prequels, since Clone Wars, so that it's not just I left you on a volcano and then 20 years later, sure, kill me, go ahead. It's put some more weight into that relationship, because it is the crux of those first 6 movies, and I would be down for a little bit more of his relationship with like Bail Organa as well, and that kind of thing. I don't want it to be full of Jedi. I don't want him to meet up with Yoda and all that stuff. I want it to be sort of like a spiritual journey, like a samurai movie kind of thing, but very, very low key, because he's got to stay hidden. So I don't want it to be an all-out lightsaber fest.
Yeah, see, for me, he's probably like 3rd or 4th on my all-time favorite list. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, but for me, that the Mustafar to New Hope, I'm happy with Vader and Anakin in that. Like that, I like as a something I haven't said since, and he walks away because it's like, oh, the last time you got your ass kicked. That's how I feel on the whole thing. Like I don't want Vader and Obi-Wan to interact anymore. I want that just to like kind of stay together. The other thing is I love Obi-Wan, but when you set it after the events of Revenge of the Sith, it has to be fairly recently after Revenge of the Sith. Like right, he's like, here's Luke, I got to go on a mission quickly. Because from Rebels, he's just sitting around the campfire, which is what I've envisioned him doing for 20 years. Just sitting around a campfire. And so for me, that's the Obi-Wan movie, is him sitting around a campfire. Plus, you have I think no, never mind. The Star Wars comics haven't dealt with that yet, right? So my feeling on it is just, what is it about? Does it diminish the mystery that they have? Because also, Vader and Obi-Wan, they've kind of, they have gone like this, and in the New Hope, they kind of aren't in each other's lives whatsoever at that point. And if you add another meeting, so you have Mustafar, then Obi-Wan, then Vader and Obi-Wan in New Hope, and then something in the middle, I feel like it just takes away from the mystique of that first fight when you put it all together in one giant, isolated. That's an awesome moment. But as a grand story, I think it kind of takes away from that moment just a little bit. And I have to ask you a question right now from the Mr. Pete channel. He says, and this is directed at you because I have not read this, did you guys like the Fett story from a certain point of view?
I got to be honest with you, Mr. P, that was probably my second least favorite story from a certain point of view. Added muscle. I find Paul Dini Paul Dini wrote it. I find he's really good at writing situations, but when it comes to dialogue, he's like a 4-year-old. Just play any of the Batman Arkham games and just listen to the dialogue and you'll see what I mean. But the story he gave us was just, it was exactly like, you know what it was? I'll tell you exactly what it was like. It was like this news story that we're talking about how Obi-Wan is supposed to be filming in spring 2019. It was a story that was it was a bunch of paragraphs of drawn out saying the same thing, and then when you look back you realize it wasn't saying anything at all. It was literally just like 2 or 3 pages of Fett inner monologue saying, I'm tough, don't mess with me, the end.
He agrees with you. He said
did not
he was too hyper. Fett was too hyper.
Yeah. It was like a little kid who's like, yeah, don't mess with me or I'll punch you in the face. And the fact that it was written first person like that, as soon as I found that out, I was like, oh God, Paul Dini's writing inner monologue. I'd literally rather read a fortune cookie. So I was not, and I'm not hating on Fett. I love Mr. Fett, but that did not do it for me. But to go back to your point about the Obi-Wan thing, I think that there's still a sweet spot that I, as a fan of Obi-Wan personally, would love to see. Like I've talked all the time about how we get that beautiful moment in the comics, that stunning moment that should be in a movie but it isn't, where Vader finds out he has a son. Because I'm sorry, that moment needs to be in a movie first of all. But besides that, I think that there's another moment in here, which is not as powerful as that, I will admit this, but it's a moment that has the potential to be very emotionally powerful. And that is the moment, which we never see, where Obi-Wan finds out, oh my God, Anakin's still alive. That guy I left to burn on that cliff is still alive. And that, there's so much there to just get out of that character and how he ends up taking that news. Would it terrify him? Would it make him disgusted with himself that he didn't put this man out of his misery? Like, all these things could come out of that. And I think they're doing us a disservice as fans, and they're doing Obi-Wan a disservice as a character by never showing us that. And sure, they could throw that in a comic somewhere, but to be honest, those Journals of Ben Kenobi thing, they're fluff at this point. I don't care. I don't want to see something that powerful in there. I'd rather see it with somebody as talented as Ewan McGregor, making it pop.
No, I agree. They did that in a Legends comic book where he finds out in I think the Mos Eisley Cantina, he finds out that Darth Vader's there and blah blah blah, and then he puts two and two together, and that is a great moment. Here's the problem with that moment though is and this is I think this is a problem Lucasfilm is having with the Obi-Wan film as a whole. Is The Last Jedi was and I think this is really stupid, especially after you watch it, but they kept saying, like, it's a small movie. It's like an indie film, blah, blah. It's freaking not at all. It just takes place in two sets. Like it's not small at all. It's freaking grander than grand. Almost like too grand at some points. But, like, they look at that, and in their heads, like, well, we tried to make this small independent film, and it only made $1.3 billion. Or 1.4, whatever. But they look at, maybe they look at how it's received a little bit, and I don't think they typically do, but let's just say for argument's sake that they're like, oh man, people were kind of pissed off because it was too small and blah blah blah. Because look, the one thing in Last Jedi is the time frame is a little stupid. And then they look at the Obi-Wan film and they were like, it's going to be a small film directed by a Billy Elliot director, and it's going to take place on Tatooine, and he's going to contemplate his life after he finds out that his old Padawan is still alive. That could be an amazing movie. But is that an amazing blockbuster?
In the right hands, yeah. And I think that these Star Wars stories have a little bit more wiggle room. They're allowed to get away with a little bit more than an episodic film. An episodic film, the hyper fans are like this. They're like Sherlock Holmes. They're looking at the stitching. They're waiting to see that there's one stitch out of place, and they'll call you out on that. But because the Star Wars stories are still so new, I mean, we have still only seen one, they can get away with more. They can play with more things and say, look, guys, to warn you before this comes out so you don't scream at us, we made this picture about Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's going to be fun, but it's smaller scale. We had like a $100 million budget on it. It's more grounded. So prepare your bodies for that and then go watch it. I think that with that Star Wars story tag under the title, people will give it more of a chance.
Yeah, but will they enjoy it? And will they go back to see it? That's the thing. Like I like, you put Star Wars on a title, it's going to make $150 million opening weekend at minimum, according to Solo right now. You know what I mean? Like, now it's tracking for 170 over the long weekend. Like, the Star Wars movies are, and I hate to break it to everybody, but they are alive and well. But my question is, if you make a small one that is more a character piece, do people return to it? Like, I think that's an intriguing idea, but is that why you go see Star Wars? Is that not better suited for a novel?
The only difference is the novels take advantage of things by giving us characters we can't use anymore or who just have not existed yet. Whereas, like, Ewan McGregor is pretty much gift wrapped for us. So they'd be wasting a big opportunity. And whether or not people like the movie, I think, is going to. I mean, hey, we all thought everybody was going to love The Last Jedi, regardless of what we heard going into it, whether it was big or small. I'm still. I still can't fathom the fact that there are people out there who don't enjoy Attack of the Clones. So it's all relative, I guess, at the end of the day. But you bet your ass there's going to be people who go in there and say, that was the worst thing I've ever seen. But there's also going to be people who go in there and say, God, I wish more Star Wars movies did that.
Yeah, I'm down for it. I just wonder if, people, I think, look, people go to Star Wars movies for a reason. And it's like going to a Marvel movie. You go to a Marvel movie, it's like a DC movie. You don't go to a DC movie for a reason. Like, you go to the Marvel movies because you know what you're going to get. You go to Star Wars because you know what you're going to get. It's fun galaxy film. And so that's why I'm really curious to see. But I wonder if, I still think they're seeing how the reception to Solo is. My thing is, look, with Solo, and I've been saying this since I think it was January. I said on the podcast, and then I did a video on it just to back myself up. I did a video alone because this is my only thought. It's like Kasdan wrote this. George Lucas and Kathleen Kennedy called him in. They're like, look, we want to do more Star Wars movies. These are the ideas I have. And he goes, which one do you want? And Kasdan was like, I want to do Han Solo. He's my favorite character. And I think that is crucial to what everybody's watching. I think right now, I think they're in the theater to watch, all the people in LA, not us. And what we're going to watch in 2 weeks, and what everyone's going to see after that and rolling on, is we're going to see something that was written, I don't want to sound lame on this, but from the heart, basically. Like, this was a passion. Like, it's weird to say for Star Wars, but it was almost like someone who believed in what they were doing. And they weren't just like, we're doing an Obi-Wan film, go write the script. It was, what do you want to do? I really want to do the story. Do that story. Make whatever you want and come to us. Is the Obi-Wan film going to be someone, it won't be Kasdan, obviously, but will it be someone of Kasdan's clout? Or is it going to be Joe Smith, who wrote Carnosaur in 1993? Like, who is it going to be writing this? Do you know what I mean? And that, to me, that's a crucial moment. And then the other thing, before I let you talk for the first time this whole hour, is, do they hire the director after the writer? Because then again, you have the Michael Arndt situation from Episode 7. And I remember the day they announced everything. They're like, we're going to do Star Wars movies. Michael Arndt's writing the script. And I turned to a colleague of mine, and I said, why wouldn't they get a director first, especially for something like this? I'm like, I just don't see how this is going to work. And of course it didn't work, because the director comes and is like, well, this is not the movie I want to make. I need my own writer, or I am my own writer. It's like, is that going to be the case? This is what worries me. It's very minute, but worries me about the Obi-Wan film versus the Solo film.
Oh, you're right. The writing thing worries me too. The director is a guy that I've never really known. Like, I never saw Billy Elliot, so he's going to be a mystery to me. But then again, so was it Gareth Edwards. But the writing thing, yeah, you're right. That has to be, there's got to be somebody in there who's got some cred somewhere. And if not, Disney, just FYI, I will write this movie for half the price you would normally pay someone. I'll do it.
I'll do it for free. Andrew, we weren't invited to the premiere. What do you think they're going to let you write a Star Wars movie?
I'll send them some of my stuff as like collab. But if you told me like they got a writer today for Obi-Wan, and it was, like you said, Joe Schmo who wrote Carnosaur, and I'd be like, oh boy, this reeks of B movie now. But if you told me, hey, okay, this Billy Elliot guy is still directing, but hey, I don't know, Brad Bird is going to write it. I'd be like, okay, all right. Somebody who has proven in the past that they both know Star Wars and love Star Wars, then I can get on board with a name like that. Or me, because Disney, seriously, half the celery.
Did you see Tomorrowland?
I did not see Tomorrowland, but I saw The Incredibles.
You might change your mind up.
Half the salary, Disney. Think of how much more you could spend on the movie with that 50% of writing stuff. Trust me.
Like a lot. Watch our commentary on The Last Jedi?
Oh, sorry, you cut out there. I didn't catch that question.
Maybe they didn't either. I'm asking Mr. P Channel if he would watch our commentary on The Last Jedi if we do that. Mr. P will pay them to write the Obi-Wan film. All right, what of all the standalone Star Wars films you can get, what is the one that you would like to see the most?
I would like to see the most. Like, you're talking standalone films that are about a pre-existing thing, like not like. Right now, it's Obi-Wan. I mean, that might change tomorrow. Somebody might sell me a really good idea on a 9-num script, and I'd be like, cool. But right now, it's Mr. Kenobi.
Yeah, I love Obi-Wan. I gotta find out what this movie's about because his character is like. I mean, we got three Obi-Wan films basically in the prequels. He's a huge part in A New Hope, like Jericho Kane says Solo. We've got in the Obi-Wan movies. I mean, the moments we talked about are great. But I need to be proven that they could be better put to film without lessening what we know about him than in a novel. And I still think that we're going to do a video on Leia later on, not today, but another day. And I still think Leia should be dead before Episode 9 starts, and that should be handled in a Claudia Gray novel. And that is how I want Leia to be dealt with, because I've been thinking a lot about this. I have no problem with recasting characters a lot, like actors a lot of the times, like Terrence Howard, obviously Solo, Obi-Wan, but they're a little bit different. The thing is, and I was trying to think of why recasting Leia would bother me so much, and I think this is totally going off the rails. This is a side Akbar of all side Akbar.
This is a side Radis.
What it is yes, a side Radis. Speaking of Radis, I was thinking about the movie Red Dragon. Remember the Red Dragon movie, directed by everyone's favorite clean-cut individual, Brett Ratner, who has never done anything wrong? They did the movie Red Dragon because they already had Manhunter, the movie Manhunter with.
Love Manhunter.
Yeah, but it's the same movie. But it's Red Dragon, and they want to get Anthony Hopkins, Lecter, but they didn't get Jodie Foster back, which was weird. Like, the whole point is you want this, but Jodie Foster was like, nope. And then they got Harvey Keitel to play Scott Glenn. This is Scott Glenn's role from Silence of the Lambs. Like, they recast two out of the main characters from Silence of the Lambs. Like, this is, and it's kind of like, well, what's the point at this point? And then, so I was kind of like, Star Wars is obviously different. Then I was thinking, this is supposed to be the ending of, like, to wrap up the characters that we know, but a big part of those characters that we know are the actors that portrayed them. And you went through the trouble to get Carrie Fisher to come back in the first two, in Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and now she can't be there at the end. And it's kind of strange if you're just like, well, we'll just get actress A to come in and portray her, whoever that might be. It's almost like, and I'm kind of like, I just feel like it, and I've said this on the podcast a bunch of times, but it's like, and I just wrap my head around it. I'm just like, I think it just makes way more sense. It's way more respectable if you do it in that kind of light, and then you give us a nice Leia send-off novel, like a huge, like dedicated to Carrie Fisher if you want, this long-ass novel, let Claudia Gray just write until, a whole year, like 5 years worth of stuff, and you just have like this beginning, middle, and end of the finale of her character for us, and then people in the theater. We mentioned the Rocky thing before, and you just kind of move on that way. But that's how I feel about that. I prefer to age Billy Lord to play Leia, but she's already in the movie. That's the problem. And Heidi Fedor would hire Cindy Williams.
Cindy Williams. I don't know who that is.
That is who George Lucas wanted for Leia.
Originally?
According to Heidi, and she didn't lie, so I'm going to take her word for it because I don't want to go on the internet because the stream might stop.
Yeah, it's very slow as it is. Any more pressure and we'd knock out the power lines, I think. I'm just going to,
seriously.
I've said it before, I'll say it again, I'm going to stick to my guns here. At the end of the day, write the script two ways and see if you can only make one movie. Which one do I have to make? I think that's the best way for them to solve this problem. And obviously, it's already done. That script is written, whatever it may entail. I'd be down for a Claudia Gray thing, though. If this ends up being a movie with no Leia in it, then yeah, I agree 100% with what you just said. Give us that nice, chunky Claudia Gray book. Make it, really tear-jerking. Make it really special. Send off this character the right way. And you could potentially please a lot of people with this book. That could be a lot of people's favorite book.
That's the thing, like, and I feel like this is the best way to do it because, and I'm going to say this flat out, Han Solo's my favorite character, Luke Skywalker's right up there, obviously, but those two deaths in the last, spoilers if you haven't seen Force Awakens or Last Jedi, I got to say that right.
I haven't seen that.
But those two characters, their deaths have been for overwhelming. I haven't felt an impact. Like, when Obi-Wan bites it in A New Hope, you feel that impact. When Jar Jar bites it, like you feel the impact. But these two, where I should have felt like, oh, Han Solo was killed, I just feel like the execution of both of them have been soft and haven't come away with emotional stuff. And this is a moment, I mean, maybe if you recast Leia, but Leia is the one they've got to nail. Like, when Leia goes, however it happens, and maybe they recast Leia for like 2 scenes, but I just think it's weird that if you kill her off in 2 scenes. But she needs to be the one when she goes, we're like, it's over. Like, Chewie's still around, but it's over. Those 3 are gone. Star Wars is now in the hands of Rey, Finn, Poe, Mara, and Coco, or whatever that new character's name is. And they just, like, and that's it. Like, Leia, we got to feel Leia. We got to feel Leia.
No, that's a good point. The end, because this is the end of them, like you're saying, it should be a big deal. So, like I said, I don't envy them at all for having to solve this problem. But there are a myriad of ways to do it, and we've seen the pros and cons of each way. So now it all depends on just what is the script we have to make.
And I think whatever happens, we just have to put our faith in J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy and Heidi Fedor, who says Cindy Williams should have known is Shirley from Laverne and Shirley. She was in American Graffiti. And somewhere in another dimension, in another universe, in another time, there is a version of Star Wars with Uncle Ron as Luke Skywalker, Shirley as Leia, and Richard Dreyfuss as Han Solo. And Toad as Chewbacca. I would watch that. I don't know Toad's real name, but I would watch that movie in a heartbeat. Like, if Han was a member of the Pharaohs, I'd be totally into it. By the way, I love American Graffiti. It's one of my favorite movies ever made. Wolfman, so good. When he's eating the popsicles because the freezer's broken.
I was eating gelato today, and I was thinking of that scene. hey, all the popsicles are melting, so just take as many as you want.
I used to, I worked at a golf course 10, 11 years ago, and we used to have an oldies station here, 1150, it was oldies. And every, like, Saturday at 5 p.m., they would play the Wolfman Jack. And I'd be like, I gotta listen to Wolfman, I'm the Wolfman. And I'd be like, and I listened to him, like, all the time. It was awesome. This has nothing to do with Star Wars. But that's how it was. I love it. I want more. Final thoughts on the Solo premiere. Do you hope everybody's having a good time, or do you hope the ball burns out in the theater?
I hope they're having a good time. I'm just not looking forward to all the millions of tweets that are going to follow tonight celebrating how much of a good time they had while we're stuck here in Toronto not having that same good time as they are.
Yeah, you know what? I want to say this. I got to cut you off. Get out of here. No, I got to cut you off quickly just to say this before I forget. That starting right now, going forward, for anybody that's still with us right now, zero spoiler. We'll mention this again on other shows and podcasts, but zero spoilers for Solo on the channel until May. It'll probably be May 25th when we start posting, but it'll be like 12 a.m. like that day. Like we're going to do a review probably from the theater. The 4 of us are going to get together. The 5 of us we get together to do our review of it. We'll post it online as soon as we can. But we're seeing it at 8 p.m. on the 24th. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. That takes us to probably finish around 10:30, 11 o'clock, somewhere around there. We'll do our review. So by the time we piece it together and put it on YouTube, it'll be the 25th. But we won't do any spoilers until then, regardless. We'll mention our Instagram accounts. We'll do like live reactions to it. We did it for Last Jedi. You didn't because you don't know how to use Instagram. Well, you just got Instagram, actually. Mm-hmm. And we'll do that. We'll have a lot of fun. But I just want to point out, no spoilers, please, in the comments going forward. We are not going to cover any spoilers. We will still we'll still talk about things and guess on things and make our own theories up and whatnot and have fun with it. We just won't be like, well, Vader has a scene with 3PO and it's very emotional. We won't mention anything like that because we want everybody to enjoy this movie for the first time. And so I'm going to be off of Twitter starting, I think, in like an hour or two. I won't be on. I mean, I'll go on, but I'm not going to read anything. And in the comments, I'll probably be very absent in the comments because I trust the people watching right now, and I trust a lot of our regular viewers, but I don't trust the hashtag boycott Solo people who just want to ruin everything for everybody. I don't trust them, and I don't know how to block spoilers for a movie because I don't know what any of the keywords are going to be in those spoilers. So I can't. If I did, then that would suck. But anyway, that's just a PSA from me. So there you go.
Yeah, guys, keep your eyes open for that video. Like James said, it'll be up probably very late on the 24th / early on the 25th. It'll be called I Can't Believe Kira Died, a review.
By the way, sorry, I got to cut you off again, Andrew. Powell, John Powell, the composer of the music for this, he released a track listing for all of the songs. I did not look at the track listing because, again, I'm staying away from spoilers on this one. And even then, I'm like, what can they really spoil? Kira dies, Woody Harrelson dies, like L3 probably does something. I know what the outcome of this. It's like when you watch Titanic, you know that the ship's going down. Like, what are you really going to spoil? But I just want to go in and have fun with it. Like, I've stopped watching the TV spots now. I just want to enjoy it. But he said something very curious in it, and we'll do another video on this. I'll talk to Brock on it on the episode. But he said that he wrote a love theme, a new love theme for Han and Kira. But then he went on, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, but is it love?
They're cousins. I knew it.
Well, they're probably brother and sister. It's Star Wars.
That's right.
So I thought that was curious. And we know that John Williams wrote a Han Solo theme, and Chewie's getting his own theme in this as well.
Chewie's getting his theme. I can't wait to hear the Chewie theme and the Han theme. I'm so excited for those.
I did see something, not on purpose. I can't remember how I watched it, but I saw it, and I won't say what it is, but they used the Star Wars main theme, the main Star Wars theme in the movie. They use it in a specific moment, and it was beautiful. For the moment, I was just like, if I had a microphone, I'd drop. I was just like, beautiful. I really liked it. Mark Hamill made it. Oh, see, Heidi's already ruining things. I don't know if that's a slip, though, because I feel like everyone knows that character is going to be in the movie anyway. What else we got? Spoiler, Han gets the Falcon. Jerkico is what I'll call for that spoiler.
Here's a question. What do you think the odds are that there's a crawl in this?
0.
Wow. I was going to go full Brock.
No, I think it was slip that there was no crawl. And you know what? First I read that there was a crawl, but then it happened to be just a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I think, look, we all love the crawls, and I agree with not having a crawl in Rogue One, and I would have been, because it's a crawl for a crawl, like they said. In this one, I would have been fine with a crawl because it's Star Wars. But if you're going to make things called a Star Wars story, then they should all kind of have their own aesthetic. And then, whatever. And again, I don't know what any of the Rian Johnson trilogy or the Game of Thrones guys, their saga, we don't know what they'll have. I'm hoping a crawl. But they should all kind of have their own thing, and that should be it. And so I would like a crawl, but I'm completely okay with no crawl.
Same. That's why I went full Brock, because I could love it either way.
But I think I read that there was but I will say this, I hope that they didn't use iMovie for the title screen again. I really, I was like, seriously, did they get their co-op to make that? Oh man, that is the most depressing font for a $200 million movie I've ever seen in my life. We're out of budget.
It looks like the text graphics in my videos.
No, don't put yourself down like that. I was like, it's really jarring. Every time I watch it, I'm like, who approved it? I honestly think they had to do so many reshoots. Kathleen Kennedy and company, they just got tanked, and they're like, yeah, this is fine. Then when they saw it without double vision, they were like, but that's how I feel. Let's wrap this thing up. We've been going on for an hour. Heidi Fedora says, she said one thing, that maybe there's enough stock footage where they can use Carrie Fisher as a Force ghost. Not a bad idea. I don't know how, I just don't know if she's had that enough training. But in this new Star Wars age anyway, people don't need to get trained on anything anymore whatsoever. So
the only thing is, if she was a Force ghost, I feel like the dialogue she would have would be very specific. It'd be very, I'm dead, but... And I feel like Carrie would not have recorded dialogue like that, even if there was stock footage of her. So
they could animate her voice, her mouth, just like Superman. Right. It's flawless.
You live in the future.
All right, tell everybody about your new Instagram page, and then we'll get out of here.
Oh God, you know what? I don't even know how to plug it yet because I don't even know what to say. I think it's just called Andrew Fantasia. I think it's basically just a vehicle for me to get more followers on my YouTube channel, which is also called Andrew Fantasia. But yeah, that's me, and then you can see me here, outshining David Collins in the suit department. By the way, this
absolutely
is Walmart. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you just said. You cut out on me on my end. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'm going to play a little video at the end here, Andrew, so you have to stay silent while the video... It might not play. If it doesn't play, I'm just going to hit stop on the record. Guys, thanks for suffering through this live stream with us. We had a lot of fun talking and reading your comments. We'll do more live streams, I think, in the future. A little bit more play. This was just kind of a last minute, But episode 93 of the Rebel... 93? Is it 93 already? Jeez. Of the Rebel Scum podcast is coming on Saturday. Andrew and I will have another video about Leia in the coming weeks because we are all about that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. And until next time, may the force of others be with you. Okay, don't talk. Don't talk.
Hey, scumbags. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our latest videos.